Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 17 of SevTech Ages. Today we are going to space. So last episode we built this rocket, but we can't launch it yet because we need some fuel. So let's make rocket fuel. I already set up the very basic infrastructure that will collect air, or oxygen rather. So in the overworld, you can just build an oxygen collector, put it down, and it'll produce oxygen. So with this oxygen, I also made a compressor, but we'll get to that in a second. Oxygen can be combined with kerosene to make rocket fuel. So if we look at the uses of oxygen, no, maybe not. Let's see what it takes to make rocket fuel then. So just called fuel is made with either liquid or gas state oxygen plus kerosene make rocket fuel. This is kerosene is effectively RP1 or rocket propellant, and oxygen is the oxidizer for it, and they're combined in a refinery. So I've already set up our projector to show where like the shape of the refinery. So I'm thinking we'll build it here, and then we'll have to pipe the fluids from here over to our launch facility. Although, if I recall correctly, these Galacticraft rockets also don't use very much fuel. So I still have to gather up these components, and then let's build our refinery. While gathering up components, I realized that our oil production seemed to be a lot slower than it was before. You see, it seems to be going up, well, before it would be like every other tick, we would get 100 millibuckets and be able to process a batch. So I decided to run another drill sample in this chunk, and it turns out we did consume all of the oil in the chunk. So now we only get trace oil, which is, I guess, 6 millibuckets a tick. If we compare this to the one that we had earlier, there were, 8,100,000 whatever millibuckets of oil. So we basically exhausted the oil in this chunk, and if we need more than this 6 millibuckets of a tick of oil, which for the time being I don't think we do, but if we do later, we'll have to move that pump somewhere else. Anyways, back to crafting components. Let's build ourselves a refinery. Excuse that that noise in the background. That's our crusher hard at work processing. I don't even know what ore. I threw a bunch of ore in there earlier, and it's just slowly working through them. So once we build this, we should be able to begin our rocket fuel production. As I said, I don't think it uses a lot, so I'm probably only going to make a small buffer of rocket fuel, especially because it also eats up our kerosene, which is what we are using as power generation for now. So there's our rocket fuel. Let's see, where do inputs? Hey, I even got the facing correct. All right. So let's grab some whoopsies. Let's connect these pipes up. I'm gonna pickaxe this fast has some downsides. I don't know why it tries to connect here. Let's just disable those connections for aesthetic reasons. Nope, just kidding. Looks like I'm not allowed to do that. Whatever. I'm also using... I started using these cyclic fluid extraction cables because they don't take a pump. The pump is just a little large and unwieldy. Besides that, they're functionally the same. What are these? Fluid pipes from cyclic. Oh, do I not have enough? This is why I usually don't craft on camera, because I don't know, it's a lot of clicking through recipes. Alright, so that should fill it with oxygen and kerosene. We just need to give it some power. And it sounds like our crusher is done. So where do I plug this in? Sure, we can do it here. All right, and now this should start making fuel. Let's get a small tank to buffer this with. Let's see. 512 is probably a little much. Let's grab a 64 bucket tank. Oops, I'm out of iron plates. All right, I'm gonna craft one of these, and then we can move on to the next step in getting to space. So as our rocket fuel gets produced here, we can see another advantage of using the cyclic fluid wires instead of the immersive engineering ones. They're just faster. The oxygen tank stays full, even though this recipe uses twice as much oxygen as it does kerosene. But whatever. Our tank is basically full, and when this fills up, I think I'll just actually carry this tank over to our rocket. It does retain its contents when broken. So I believe to load the rocket, we need something called a fuel loader, which I hope doesn't have an awful recipe. I definitely did not check this ahead of time. And so we just need some more of these processors. How many of these did I make? I made the logic ones. Okay, let me craft a few more processors then, and then we should be ready to load fuel. I don't think I've had a chance to show this on camera yet. It's functionally the same, but I've upgraded our Starlight production system a bit. So I went out and filled most of a large storage crate with rock crystals. With our Fortune whatever level, Fortune 6 on our pickaxe, I filled all these spots were once filled. I did all this off a single rock crystal vein. So yeah, you get a lot of rock crystals very easily. And now that we have mechanical users or automated users, we can automatically right-click crystals into the light well. They use a tiny bit of power, so they need to be supplied with power, and obviously they need to be supplied with rock crystals. So now we can automatically produce liquid starlight without me having to replace these crystals when they break, which isn't very often. If you see, we have over 1,000, almost 1,000 buckets of starlight, and we only use, less than 1 page of the storage crate. And that's still with each user having a buffer of 3 in it. Likewise, I upgraded our crystal growth place with, let's see, how can I show this? Let's look from here, I guess. So there is fluid placers that are actually placing the starlight now, so I don't need to manually replace it when it gets used up. And what that'll do is, how am I short a piece of dirt? So what that'll do is when I'm splitting crystals, I just have to take a crystal. Let's just do one for now. Throw it in here. It'll automatically, keep sucking up starlight until it splits into 2 crystals, at which point it'll stop because there's 2 crystals in there. And then when I see that there's no more particles coming out of these, I'll come and grab the crystals. For this bit, when I have a crystal with 100% cutting and I throw it in here, likewise there's a fluid placer down there. When the crystal hits perfect stats, it's sucked up by the ender hopper and stored in our crate, or our drawer, which now has 20 in them. Anyways, back to what I was doing, crafting our fluid, our fuel loader. So these should be done. Let's grab some redstone, and this should be the last step. All right, there we go. One goes in the middle. Redstone is in the middle. Can't wait till we have full applied energistics to properly automate this. There we go. We'll grab these circuits and we should be able to craft a fuel loader. Appears to have been one of the advancements. I think you can just place this directly touching the launch pad, maybe? Maybe it has to face a certain direction. Not that way. Alright, let me figure out how to use this fuel loader. I'm pretty sure you just place it touching the launch pad. Alright, one sec. Okay, yeah, that's all it was. You can either... So of these dots, the green dot is power in, And I think this one is fuel in, but since I had a tank of it, you can just place the tank here, and it looks like it has an internal buffer of 12-ish buckets. So anyways, it also needs a little bit of power. How do I want to run power to here? Preferably in a way that won't risk killing myself. So, power is really awkward when using these wire connectors. Okay, you know, I'll just use these for now. Next era, we'll unlock high throughput wires, and the Galacticraft wires should be unlimited throughput or very nearly unlimited throughput, and they won't kill me or zap me for touching them. At that point, we can replace this highly dangerous wired network with cables that are much safer and can transmit much more power. So once we wire this up, let's see, where do I want to go? Go over to here. Once we wire this up, we should be able to load fuel into the rocket, which looks like it's done loading fuel. Let's step into the rocket and find out, I guess. So how can I check the inventory? G. Yeah, the rocket is being loaded, and now there's fuel. It also has an internal inventory, right? Because I put chests in it. But I don't know. If we want to store something in there, we can. I don't intend to at the moment. All right, so our rocket is now loaded. Let's see what the next step is for going to space. Technically, we can go now. There'll be some problems. The Galacticraft rockets cannot do a power descent, so we would crash land on the moon. That's pretty bad for obvious reasons. So we probably want a parachute, and the moon doesn't have air, and we don't have, you know, a spacesuit, so we would die. Also pretty bad. So let's take those one at a time. For starters, let's build a parachute. These are pretty simple. Some canvas and some string. Okay, yeah, this is... flame string's easy enough to come by. Oh, here's a parachute. Alright, and then the other thing we need is a spacesuit. So I think Galacticraft has different tiers of spacesuit. How does this work? So I think the tier 1 spacesuit only protects you on like the moon and some other I don't know, like safer areas. And if you want to go beyond that to like Venus or harsher environments, you need higher tier spacesuits. But it looks like we have to craft some spacesuit components. So all of this looks like it's just taking things we already have and putting them through some crafting processes. So I'll do that off camera, and then we'll put our spacesuits together. And this should be the last piece of our spacesuit. So just the suit isn't enough. I think the suit provides us from pressure and radiation damage, but it doesn't inherently give us the ability to breathe. So the suits can be powered, and it says they only require power when they have modules, though. So I don't think we need to power these yet. But the next thing we need... Well, let's equip these and see where they go. Do they not equip here? I thought they did. Are they real armor? Oh, that's obnoxious. So then I can't wear my mantle of the stars in space. That kind of sucks. Oh well. Anyways, we'll put our parachute here. So there is a checklist on the Galacticraft wiki. I'll link that down in the description. That does a good job of walking you through the things you need to go to space. So I'll just work my way down. To go to the moon, we want to... Well, if we want to fly the rocket back, which we don't necessarily want to do, but let's leave that as a possibility, we want a parachute to land with, a fuel loader so that we can reload the rocket with fuel on the moon, so let's make that. Alright, a second fuel loader. We'll want a power source for that fuel loader, which I think we have capacitors, although these are not charged. So let's go charge one of these up. Where can I put it to charge it? Let's just slap it here and charge it up like so. and that'll charge up over time. A empty canister to extract fuel. Well, we don't need to worry about that. We want to bring our tank of fuel. Let's make sure we have that. And to breathe, we need an oxygen mask, oxygen gear, and some oxygen tanks. So let's see, an oxygen mask, easy enough. Oxygen gear, doesn't look too bad either. And of course I'm missing components all the way down. This is what happens when I don't have applied energistics. And things start throwing these nested crafting recipes at me. Alright, there we go. Oxygen mask, oxygen gear, and tanks. I thought I crafted some of these already, but whatever. Let's craft a couple of oxygen tanks. I think we have room in our equipment slots for 2, so let's do 2 for now. We want to fill our tanks with oxygen, so if we come over here to our oxygen compressor and just throw a tank in there, it'll gradually fill up with oxygen, and when that one's done, I'll fill our other one. I think each point of durability provides 1 second of breathable oxygen. And I know there's larger oxygen tanks, although they don't appear to be available yet. So for now, with 2 tanks, we'll have 30 minutes of breathable oxygen. That's fine. Alright, so while those tanks fill up, let's see what else we need. Some food. Good, we got plenty of food. Armor and a weapon. Well, I guess this is our armor, right? And our weapon will be... we have a weapon. And building materials. The only thing I plan to build on the moon on our first trip there is a Astral Sorcery Celestial Gateway. So, you know, one of these things, so that we can easily travel between the moon and here in the overworld. So I think that might be the last thing we need to gather up before we're ready to go. Let me go craft one, because I think I used all the ones I crafted earlier. So while I don't think it's necessary to charge our spacesuit for it to be effective, I'm going to do so anyways, just to be on the safe side. So once this is charged up, I have our Celestial Gateway multi-block with us. I think we are ready to go to the moon. Let's run down that checklist one more time just to be safe. The last thing you want to do is land on the moon just to find yourself suffocating, right? So, once this piece is done, starting from the top, we have a parachute, check. A fuel loader, check. A power source for the fuel loader. Let's go pick that one up. Let's grab our other oxygen tank while we're at it. So, a power source. Fully charged, check. Next up, we have... let's see, fluid tanks to move fuel around, including having some fuel, check. Oxygen mask, oxygen gear, and at least 1 filled oxygen tank. A mask, a gear, and 2 full oxygen tanks. Aren't we prepared? Some food, check. Armor, weapon, I mean, I guess this is our armor. And we have a weapon, so I'm really sad we have to take this off. Oh well. The moon has low gravity, so we'll still be able to, at least somewhat, we'll be able to fly around. Let's bring our slime sling, I guess, just so that we have that available. And building materials for the moon in case you plan to build a base. Well, I don't really plan to build a full base, but I do plan on building a Celestial Gateway. Alright, our pressure suit is charged, so let's clean out our inventory one last time. Alright, good enough for government work. And let's put on our... let's take off our real equipment, put on our spacesuit. That looks pretty cool. I like the aesthetics of it. Anyways, and if there's anything I'm forgetting, yell at me now, because we're about to go to space. Alright. Good luck. Hit space to launch. And we have a countdown. Oh, am I supposed to bring a launch pad to go back with? I hope not. It wasn't on the checklist. So off we go. You know, I wonder if that piece of cobblestone there would be considered a obstruction. I'm glad we dodged it. Looks pretty cool. We got a nice nighttime launch. The launch observers would appreciate that. And up, and away we go. So I think once we reach a certain level, we're already at 500 and climbing. Once we get high enough, I think it'll bring us to a different page where it lets us choose destinations. Based on the tier of the rocket, you will be able to choose different destinations. But for now, we're just trying to go to the moon, which actually, going to the moon should kick us over into Age 5. I know at the start of the series, I was saying I wasn't planning on playing Age 5, but right now I'm still feeling, in the SevTech mood. So let's go for a bit in Age 5. I know changes were made to it somewhat recently to hopefully give it a more like SevTech-y experience as opposed to just being, very being like a kitchen sink pack. So anyways, we are now in space. Now we can go to, let's zoom in a bit. We want to go to the moon, and it says it is a tier 1 destination. So we can go there. Say we want to go to like Mars, we can't do that because it's a tier 2 planet. So anyways, to the moon, some other things we can do, I believe, is we could build a space station on around the overworld if we had these materials on us. So like iron, wafers, stuff like that. But that's not our goal right now. Let's head over to the moon. All right, we are now at we are now on the moon, and apparently we do get to do a powered landing. So, oh dear, I started our engines a little late, but we made it. Ooh. All right, so this is a moon. We can press shift to get out, and we are now on the moon. If you saw, that also kicked us over into Age 5, which I guess I think Age 5 unlocks everything that's not explicitly disabled, which ranges from like resources wise, that's emeralds, cheese, diamonds, and osmium. And the ultimate goals are to create the creative items. But now that I'm here on the moon, let's set up our telepad to be able to get back before mobs start swarming us. I think it's daytime. It's tough to tell day versus night on the moon. But if I brought the right blocks, this should be easy. Oh, we don't have any sounds on the moon either because I didn't make the sound module. So you know how like sound can't travel through a vacuum? If you don't make that what's it called, like frequency module or something? Yeah, if you don't make this thing, you can't hear sound in space, which is why it's probably eerily quiet right now. I've always had somewhat of a fascination with space travel. Remember when I was young, I was probably not even 10 at the time. I saw a launch of a space shuttle while I was on vacation down in Florida, and that was easily one of the coolest experiences that the child me had. And it definitely left an impression on me. If you ever get a chance to watch either like a space shuttle, well, not a space shuttle launch, you can't watch those anymore, but any rocket launch, I highly recommend it. They are super cool. Anyways, now that we've built this, I think we, in theory, can fly this back. Yeah, okay. So, you know what? Let's fly the rocket back, because I think we're capable of doing so. So if we, when you launch in the inventory of your lander, you have a little bit of fuel left. Let's actually snag that. And it gives you your rocket as well as your launch pad. So let's build another launch pad here on the moon, put our rocket on it, give it some fuel. That's not the right way. And I built that thing already, so we could go back the the magic way, but let's, just for fun, right? Let's ride our rocket back home. So is it powered? It is not. Why? Output. That's power. Have some fuel. And I think it's loading fuel. Alright, fuel's loading up. I mean, I guess let's grab some of the moon turf while we're here, right? Stuff kind of goes floating everywhere. So I think the main resource we are looking for on the moon is cheese. Fallen meteor. Ow. Alright, don't run into those. Let's grab it. What's in it? Meteoric iron. What does that do? Crushes into dust. I guess it's just another crafting component. Alright, so anyways, we'll explore the moon later. But I know there's like dungeons here that we're looking for that'll contain the schematics for the tier 2 rocket. And that bit is a little repetitive. Like you go to the moon to get the tier 2 schematic, and then you go to a tier 2 planet to get the tier 3 schematic, and yada 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 yada. But for now, we won't worry about that. So with our rocket fully fueled up, I expect that if we launch from here, we can ride the same rocket back to the overworld. And I expect maybe on the overworld side, we'll have to, we can't do a propulsive landing. We'll have to do a regular or a parachute landing, but let's see. Off we go. Looks like the time or the date on the moon and the overworld isn't synced either. It's day 0 here, January 1st. See ya, moon. We'll be back. Anyways, while we fly up, let's take a look at some of these advancements. So, at the top level, it's just all the creatives, alright? The next level is various rocket-based stuff. Let's go back to the overworld. And I guess we'll have to finish looking at advancements after we land. Okay, so yeah, the rocket will get you to the moon. That was a very fast landing. And it'll get you to the moon and back, but I think at that point it's consumed. You have to build another rocket if you want to go to the moon again. Thankfully, we built a... If I'll get jump boost come on, there we go. We built this so we can head back to the moon. All right. So anyways, let's head back to the overworld so we don't run out of oxygen. I can't quite read that text. I think that's the one we want. Game, please, maybe. All right. This is awkward. Take me home. I want to go home. All right, there we go. I guess I wasn't standing centered enough for its liking. So, as I was saying, advancements, and let's make this rain stop. Since I don't have creative flight now, I keep trying to tap spacebar to fly, but I can't do that because I don't have my thing on. Whatever. Back to advancements. So these are various rocketry ones. Looks like we get mystical agriculture as for resource generation at some point, but that requires going to Saturn first. I did read somewhere that there's a little trick around this, and we'll look into that later. But we can get to mystical agriculture for resource generation later. These are just various tiers of jetpacks, chargers and wireless chargers, a scanner that'll help us look for resources, probably especially on the moon, and we can get emeralds, diamonds, cheese, sky stone, moon cheese. I wonder what that's for. That's probably for applied logistics. We can get what's this mod called? The one that creates those tiny places for you to build. It's a pretty cool mod. What's it called again? Whatever. If we want to do compact builds, we'll go into this. I'm sure the name will come to me later. Miniaturization field projector. There we go. Compact machine. That's what I was thinking of. And lastly, osmium means that we have access to... I believe we should have access to most of Mechanism, which includes its ore processing, which lets you go up to 5 times ore processing. So let me show you that real quick. This is pretty cool. I probably won't implement it just because ores are easy to come by, and the 5x processing line is really slow. So let's start from... What are these ores called? I'm really drawing a blank. Clusters. All right. So if we take these clusters, if you see, if we put them through a crusher, which is what we're doing now, we double the ore and we get a 25% at a byproduct sometimes. But what we can do is, first of all, Mechanism has a couple options. So we can triple our ores by turning them into clumps, and then dirty dusts, and then regular dusts, and then from there we do our normal processing. We can quadruple the ore by turning them into shards, uses a little bit of salt, and then clumps, and then same thing. And most spectacularly, sorry if you can hear that, there's a helicopter flying overhead. Most spectacularly, if we combine it, if we dissolve it in acid, we get a slurry, which we can then clean in water, and then process it into a crystal, and then process a crystal into a shard, and go from there. And that actually gets us 5 ores, or 5 dusts per ore. Whether or not that's worth it is, up to you. It's a fun project, but generally speaking, I find it's easier just to get more ores than it is to process them so highly. So anyways, let me make the age 5 world download, and we'll progress from there. And we're back. I want to make one quick correction. So I know earlier I said that the rocket is used up. Turns out it isn't. A little while after I landed, I think this chest landed. I guess it fell down, on its own, and it contains a rocket again. So we can once again launch this same rocket back to the moon or to any other valid tier 1 destination. So there we go. And I think this chest we can just break at this point. We got a para chest for our troubles. Alright, anyways, I looked at our recording time, and I think now is a good time to end the episode, both having, also just gotten to age 5. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm glad we were able to get to the moon, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.